It was my wife Clara's 32nd birthday, and I had spent weeks planning a surprise dinner at one of her favorite restaurants. Everything was perfect, the lights were dim, the table was covered in roses, and her friends and colleagues had already arrived. I wanted that night to be special, a reminder of how much I cared for her even after the rough patches we'd been through in our marriage. I had no idea that the evening would end in humiliation and a twist none of us could have imagined. When Clara walked in, her smile was radiant. She looked genuinely surprised and hugged me in front of everyone. For a brief moment, I felt proud. I thought I had finally done something right in her eyes. But sitting just a few seats away was her mother, Mrs. Collins, a woman who never liked me and never hid her disapproval. She believed her daughter deserved someone richer, more ambitious, someone who wasn't, in her words, stuck in a simple man's job. Throughout the dinner, Mrs. Collins made little comments about the decorations, the restaurant choice, and even the cake. I tried to brush it off for Clara's sake. But her tone grew sharper with every passing minute, and I noticed Clara avoiding eye contact with me. Her boss, Mr. Peterson, was sitting nearby, watching quietly. He was a respected man in their company, known for fairness and for treating employees with dignity. The breaking point came when the waiter brought the cake. I stood to give a small toast, thanking everyone for coming and expressing how grateful I was for Clara's love. But before I could finish, Mrs. Collins interrupted, her voice dripping with bitterness. "Grateful?" she sneered. "You should be grateful Clara even married you. You failed to give her the life she deserves. Look at you, still struggling while she's climbing the ladder at work." The room went silent. My hands trembled slightly, but I didn't respond. I could feel eyes turning toward me, some pitying, others awkward. Clara didn't say a word. She just stared down at her plate, not defending me, not stopping her mother. That silence hurt more than any insult could. Mr. Peterson cleared his throat. "Mrs. Collins," he said calmly, "I don't think this is the right place for that kind of comment." But she ignored him, continuing her tirade about how I was holding Clara back, how I lacked ambition, and how any real man would have given her daughter a better life. I wanted to leave, but something in Mr. Peterson's face told me to stay. He wasn't done. After she finished, he leaned forward slightly and spoke, his voice steady but firm. "It's strange," he said, "because from where I stand, it's not your son-in-law who seems to be failing, it's your daughter. Clara has been careless at work. She's missed deadlines, taken long breaks, and gossiped about colleagues during office hours. I've been patient, but hearing you talk about failure makes me realize where that arrogance comes from." The color drained from Clara's face. Her mother froze, finally silenced. The entire table fell into a thick, uncomfortable quiet. Mr. Peterson continued, "Respect is earned, Mrs. Collins. Your son-in-law here seems to have plenty of it. Maybe your daughter should learn a thing or two from him." Then he turned to me and gave a small nod before standing up. Clara stammered, "Sir, please, it's my birthday, can we not?" But he cut her off. "Birthdays don't erase responsibility, Clara. You've been warned before. Consider this your final notice." The weight of his words hung in the air like a storm cloud. I could see tears forming in Clara's eyes, but she said nothing. Her mother tried to argue, but he simply walked out of the restaurant without another word. People started murmuring, trying to make sense of what had just happened. I sat there, feeling a strange mix of pity and vindication. For years, I had endured insults about not being good enough, for not being wealthy, not being ambitious enough. And yet, it turned out the woman who constantly criticized me was hiding her own failures. Clara left the table in silence, following her boss outside. Her mother glared at me as if everything that happened was still my fault. But I stayed seated, trying to collect my thoughts. The celebration had turned into a scene of public embarrassment, for her, not me. And for once, I didn't feel small. When we got home later, Clara apologized softly. "I didn't know he'd say that," she murmured. "I'm sorry Mom said those things." I nodded, but my silence said everything. The damage was done, not just to her job, but to our marriage. That night, she saw clearly what her mother's pride and her own silence had cost. A week later, I heard from a mutual friend that Clara had been let go. Mr. Peterson had followed through on his warning. She was devastated, but maybe it was what she needed, to see that words have consequences, and respect can't be demanded, it has to be earned. I didn't celebrate her misfortune, but I couldn't ignore the bitter irony. The woman who once looked down on me was now unemployed, and the man she called a failure was the only one left standing beside her, at least for a little while longer. Sometimes life doesn't need revenge, it just reveals the truth at the right moment. And that night, the truth spoke louder than any insult ever could.